So Jessica Jones, she's at a jukebox at a bar, and she puts on Bad Reputation by Joan Jett, right? And it shows just her legs, and she's like walking through the bar, and there's all these like guys like beat the crap out of themselves, or she beat the crap out of them, and she's just walking up to the bar. She like takes a drink and pays the bartender and walks out. And I was like, my anticipation is too high right now.
I mean, just where she turned off the alarm clock
Smashed
by
it, yeah.
crushing it, to me that was enough. It's like, yep, they get it. They're not going to shy away from, the fact that, what she can do. And that's why I was so excited about the show, because it's like, it's finally going to be a Marvel show that is a comic book versus just it's a vigilante or it's a spy series. I'm like, that's not what Marvel Comics is to me. That's a small niche piece that, like I said, I will give Marvel the Marvel Universe handbook that shows there are like a billion characters, and you guys want to make you want to have 3 series on Shield? Come on, Shield has never been a big part of the Marvel Universe.
Well, I think Shield has been their sly way to introduce the Inhumans.
Yeah, I mean, I like that, and I've actually this season I've only watched the first episode. It's to me it's so far that's how you do a Marvel show, taking on Lash, doing all those cool things. That was awesome versus just we're going off on our adventure of the week like a MacGyver episode or an A-Team episode.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
New York Comic Con last year, they said that the executive producers and the guys who oversee it for Marvel said that they had an agenda from the minute that they started Shield. They knew exactly where it was going to go for its first 3 seasons from the very beginning. So yeah, the Inhumans were always their plan, and that's just when you look at the grand scheme of things, it just shows you how phenomenal Marvel is at planning everything out. You had to get through the really crappy stuff in season 1 to have the amazing season 2 that we got.
yeah.
And see, I would say season 2 was only partially good. A lot of it felt like filler. A lot of very
Josh and I agree with that. Like the first like quarter of it was really good, and then like that middle section was really bad, and then like the last maybe third of it was like just oh my god, this is great.
Yeah, when I say amazing, I mean for like the implications that it has for the universe as a whole, because it felt like there was actually something at stake now.
Yeah.
With Inhumans and Ward as Taskmaster. Yeah.
And Fitzsimmons is still the best part of the show.
Dude, Fitzsimmons for life. Team Fitzsimmons.
I actually rewatched the last scene of the first episode the other night, and I was like,
so good.
I was like, God, Fitz.
Are we aligned there in Kree? The Kree world?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It has to be. But we'll get more into that as we get to topic of the week.
Yes.
All right. Drum up some energy. You know, if Ray was here right now, he'd kill you.
Why?
I know.
Woohoo?
For drumming on the table. No.
Oh.
Drumming on my laptop. Yeah.
All right, so 3, 2. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Neek the Podcast. I am the Getting Over Sick Kiku, and with me, as always, is the Demon Sour Cream, Rachel Finney. Josh, how are you?
It's early.
Yes, it is. Well, this is probably the earliest show Neek has ever done. We are evening owls, not morning people.
It is one of the 2 earliest shows we've ever done, but that's because playoff baseball is today.
That's right. You're going to the Texas Rangers game, aren't you?
I am. I'm going to go see the Rangers beat the Blue Jays and hopefully clinch. They're up 2-0. So I'm very excited right now. And just to let everybody know, ESPN and Fox both said unanimously that we were not going to win a game and we were not going to advance. We are 2-0. Suck it.
I'm glad that Neek can be vindication for you against major journalism in the sports world.
Major journalism that I have also applied to work for. So.
Oh, good. No, that's good. Hopefully they never hear this episode. Of course, usually we have our fanatic with the schematic and our probie of all trades, Ray and Nick, with us. Not unfortunately, but this weekend was Ray's 1-year wedding anniversary. So to Ray and Rachel, congratulations. Josh and myself actually met Ray about a year ago, a little more than a year ago, in our guests podcast group right before he got married. Todd, of course, Todd, our Oxtra, our comic book guru, and the host with the toast of the Secret Friends Unite podcast, is here joining us today to fill in. We needed one man who could represent 2, and Todd is not that man, but we got Todd anyway, so.
Staturally, I'm
Ooh.
like half a man,
Ooh.
so even worse. But okay, enough there. But what I do bring to the podcast is a cat cleaning himself. If you can look behind me.
I saw that.
So, so I know. So if you hear a lot of silence, it's just going to be Kiku and Josh staring into the abyss that is the cat.
Well, every time you've guested, and me and you actually haven't done a show in quite some time.
No, it's been a while.
It's been a while, so I'm glad that me and you could do this. But usually when me and you do a show, whether it's your show, my show, or we randomly wind up on somebody else's show at the same time, I get stuck watching your son playing video games at the television because like he's the most animated child when playing video games. Like he kicks out, he does pirouettes. I mean, he gets into it. I love it. Like I absolutely love it.
Well, you won't see him because he's actually designing a horrifically difficult Mario Maker level, so he's actually playing off screen right now. But you can't
Oh,
see him.
Can't torture Corey again.
Oh, that was so brilliant. That was so brilliant. I absolutely loved it. Felt sorry for him. Like, finally somebody gets that pain besides me.
Okay, good.
Well, I did want to bring up, so our topic of the week is going to be, was that a real slide, or was that a tackle?
It was a tackle. Oh my God, that was a tackle.
Yeah, that was so uncharacteristic for MLB. Holy crap.
Like, look, I know we're a nerd show supposed to be talking about comic books, but I love baseball. Josh loves baseball. Todd, I don't know if you love baseball. I
I'm
know
a
you love
Tigers
football.
fan, and they have
Okay.
not been to a World Series since 1985, I believe was the last one. So hard
Okay,
to be
well,
a Tigers fan.
well, it's hard being a New York Mets fan. So
It's hard being a Rangers fan until like the last 5 years.
True, true. But last night, yes, Chase Utley slide into Ruben Tejada. I used to play baseball actually in high school, so that slide was really late. And yes, you're supposed to slide at the player to break up the double play, but you're not supposed to slide into the player or, as he did it, fall into the player and then make it look like a slide afterwards. Unfortunately, Ruben Tejada broke his leg or fractured his fibula, so he's out of the playoffs now. And of course, they won last night because of that play. So I was not very happy.
Yeah, Major League Baseball came out and said it should have been a double play anyways.
Yeah. Well, also Joe Torre, who former manager of actually the Mets, former player of the Mets, and former he's going to be a Hall of Fame manager just for the New York Yankees, was kind of wishy-washy about if they were going to do anything. Joe, you need to do something. That was not a good slide.
If it had been the Yankees, what do you think he would have said?
He would have been like, the Yankees would never do nothing like that. The Yankees, the Yankees, the Yankees, America's team of baseball.
Get a haircut. Can't
Get a
play with
haircut.
long hair.
That's right. All right. Well, for the people who shut the podcast off, or actually not for those people, but for the people who stuck through the sports talk, let's get into the news. Which none of it will have anything to do with sports ball, I promise. Though most of us do play fantasy football, which is Dungeons and Dragons for jocks. So, first bit of news: The Wrap is reporting that DC's The Flash movie will be helmed by Seth Grahame-Smith. In case you don't know who that is, Smith's projects in film have included Dark Shadows and Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, which he wrote the novel of that was turned into the film. He has no directing credits to his name and has mainly worked as a screenwriter and producer. In other news, WBDC will be giving directorial duties of all films going forward to the kindergarten class of PS35 in Staten Island, New York, because their finger paintings are impressive, and as one WB CEO put it, they like the kids' moxie.
This is literally the farthest away you could get from having Phil Lord and his directing partner from the Lego movie.
Chris
who
Miller.
Originally, yeah, Chris Miller. Thank you. Who were supposed to helm this and jumped ship to go do the Han Solo standalone instead for Disney and Lucasfilm. Literally, this is the exact opposite of that. This is terrible. This is terrible. When your biggest credit is Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, and you also freely admit that you wrote the novel of the same name, you just, at a certain point, you should not be employed to make a beloved character into a film that we've been waiting for forever, when we have a TV show that is amazing of the same name.
Did you read the book, Vampire Hunter?
No, I saw the trailer for the movie, and that was enough for me to make my judgment call on that.
Book is actually really good. So writing, yes, he's actually very good at.
But he's directing it. He's not even writing it.
No, I know, and that's where I was going. You know, I'm not saying people don't have cross talents, right? I mean, people can do multiple things. I believe in people having talent, but to me, this just seems like, hey, man, you're a carpenter, so you would be really good at being a firefighter then, because you know a little something about wood.
Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the DC apologist, and this is hard for even me to come up with like a spin on it to say could be unique or different because hey, look what Marvel's done, but at least they hired directors, whether it was TV, whatever, leap of faith, we know the Russo brothers, they did primarily comedies, like Community. So, but yeah, directing people, understanding how actors interplay, those type of things is really, it's an art. I mean, it's not even because it's not something there's a formula for. It's art. It's those intangibles that bring together what's written on the page, seen on the screen, the even fight scenes. Think about how you choreograph a fight scene. There's good examples and horrible examples where you don't know what the hell's going on. So, people complain about Michael Bay, but the dude is a machine. Now, sometimes he's a machine that makes, crap, but he's a machine, and he delivers big. Now, I don't like those movies, but still, he has a certain amount of craft. So, this is frustrating.
They really, I don't understand this whatsoever, and usually I'm kind of like, well, that's an interesting idea. Let's see if it pans out, Cotton. The Flash is already people are gonna go into it, and they're going to, we've said this before on the show, they're going to compare it to the TV show.
Hello? We just paused? Hello?
There we go. Yeah, sorry.
Wow.
That'll be edited out. Anyway, they're going to go into this, into the movie, comparing it to the television show. I would think that they would go out and try to find the best person that could extrapolate the Flash from the pages of the comic books and throw it onto the big screen and make it its own thing. Also coming out with this information was that the Flash's suit is going to be more tech-based and look like armor, which, okay. I have nothing on that. I don't know why a speedster would need armor because the whole point is they're too fast to be hit, but yeah, whatever, man.
I think they said it was going to look like the Injustice, what he wore in the video game Injustice.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it does have some hard edges and things like that on it.
Well, I guess they're going to try to separate it from. That's how they're going to try to separate the look from the TV show and whatnot. But whatever. Whatever. Warner Brothers and DC, again, confirmed at New York Comic Con, which we all wish we were at, but of course we're not. So everybody who's going, including you, Elijah Steele of the Rated M Gaming Network podcast thingamajigger, we hate you, but love you. I'm glad you got to do your Pretty Little Liars thing. Anyway, that the animated adaptation of The Killing Joke has the go-ahead to be rated R if need be. This doesn't necessarily mean it will be rated R, but director James Tucker has permission to make it R if he needs to. In other words, don't water down the source material. Or, in other words, why are you doing this as a cartoon?
Yeah, that still continues to be my biggest question. You and I talked about this the other night. My biggest concern with it being an animated film isn't that it won't be true to the graphic novel. It's that with it being an animated film and it having Batman and the Joker on the cover, children are inevitably going to get access to this because parents don't look at ratings. They're just going to buy it. And so unless DC and Warner Brothers put an explicit warning on the front that this is not intended for anybody underneath the age of 17, there should be a lot of disturbed children out there.
You see, I read The Killing Joke, and I did not think there was explicit material in it. There's a lot of inferences to things. There's a lot of things not shown on the page. So, and DC's already made PG-13 animated movies, which I would say skirt the line of viability of what you can show to kids, and they've decided that just like anime can be for adults, they're saying animation can be as well. And I think that's fine because some stories are going to be too hard to do on the silver screen with live action actors and things like this. And this gets more comic book content out there that might never see a screen, and I'm fine with that. I think we have to apply the same type of vision of anime to American animation and say it's okay for American animation to be for adults. Kind of like the more comedic stuff. We've kind of taken that, like the Rick and Morty, things like that, Adult Swim stuff that can be hardcore and can be on, but heroes can't be in that frame. So I don't know. That's my take.
I think I mean, as an anime fan and somebody who has watched much adult animation, I completely agree with that, Todd. The only issue is that most of those characters aren't so mainstream that it's going to bring in such a youthful audience. With anime, yes, there's a lot of adult stuff, but for the most part in America, anime is still a very small group of fans. It's definitely not approaching anywhere, to the number of Batman fans in the United States, right? The problem that Josh and I have, talked about isn't like them showing the stuff. It is those inferences. Like, those are adult themes. Some of the stuff that goes on in The Killing Joke. Now, are these themes too adult for, someone who's 13 years old? Some of the inferences I feel are a little too much, but and again, like a perfect example. I'm actually glad we're talking about this. Last night, I talked to a lady who wanted to get a cell phone case made, right, for her son for Wolfenstein: The New Order. She knew nothing about it, right, just that he liked the game. So the image he gave her was of the Nazis with a swastika on one of their chests. She didn't, she just figured it's a video game. She thought it was the good guy. She didn't really take a look at the image. This is what I'm talking about. It's on her phone now, mind you, the picture. When I pointed out to her, she's like, oh my God. And that's something that I think me and Josh are really talking about, is that a parent, all they see is Batman. They don't see any of the other stuff that's on the cover. They don't, go, well, maybe I should go read about this and see what it actually is before I purchase it for my 12-year-old. And then all of a sudden they're making allusions to kidnapping and rape. And the parents like shocked and stunned and whatnot. Also, Killing Joke's Alan Moore, isn't it?
Yes.
It is. Yeah.
Man, Alan Moore stuff you can't water down. It's so thematic. Even when the Wachowskis tried to do it with V for Vendetta, and it was still a rated R movie, it didn't come out as great as it probably should have. Of course, Alan Moore said it didn't come out great, but of course, Alan Moore has complained about the same omelet he eats every single day for the last 35 years. That's a completely other story. I don't think The Killing Joke is really needed to be put out there. I think for what it is, I'd be really cool if they were like, the first solo Batman movie is going to be The Killing Joke, and we're going to do it rated R, and I'd be like, cool, let's do that. I think you play with fire when it's animation.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, Batman has been the more adult. I mean, you think of like the Red Hoods animated that came out, and even the Damien and it was the Son of the Demon, that animated series that came out recently too. Those have been PG-13. I haven't shared those with my son, but I mean, as a parent, what? I don't give a parent's pass. If you are going to not look into what your kids are watching. I don't let my son watch those. I don't. There's certain games he can't play. He tells me his buddies are doing this. I'm like, well, that's fine. That's fine. Their parents can deal with that type of behavior because that's what you get sometimes when kids aren't mature. Everybody says their kids, my kid's more mature. No, kids are all immature, no matter what you say. When you're not watching your kids, they're going to do stupid things, say stupid things, words come out of their mouth that they would not say around you. But if you listen to what they do, my son's going to his first haunted house amusement park today, which is going to be a lot of fun for him. I'm not going with him because I want him to have an unbridled, uncensored experience.
Nice.
And I let some other parent deal with it. But I want him to have that so he's not held back. But yeah, if you are not looking what your kids are watching, you have no argument to say this shouldn't be available for adult audiences. It drives me nuts. But to get your point, though, if they can do this well, I thought the Dark Knight animated was done fairly well. Fairly, true to the story. Sometimes a little too one note. I mean, they weren't doing anything to make it their own. Just kind of like Watchmen. He wasn't making it his own. He was just putting that story on the screen. So, we'll
But
see.
that's what Zack Snyder does. We've seen his original work.
So we're actually very thankful for what he did with Watchmen.
Yeah. Well, Todd did bring up this guy, or at least his movie series. James Wan of Saw fame is currently producing, and actually Todd brought this up too, a MacGyver reboot series for CBS. For those of you too young to remember the character from TV in the 80s, MacGyver was a former soldier who, instead of using guns, used his knowledge of science and engineering to help people and get out of sticky situations. Rumor that I made up is that Bill Nye will play MacGyver and Neil deGrasse Tyson will be his archenemy. And it will all come down to a great office paperclip war where Tyson loses an eye because of paperclips.
With the cameo from Terry Tate, office linebacker.
True.
MacGruber!
Oh, Jesus.
That's all I thought about when I read this.
Me too.
All I could think of.
Well, Josh, have you ever seen MacGyver?
I have seen MacGyver.
Okay.
Mhm.
Good. Well, then we can talk about this. I think this is kind of pointless. I think the world has progressed, not just because it's technology, but the world has progressed so far in technology that there's a lot of stuff around you every single day that you don't require an engineering or science background to use to get out of a sticky situation. Your cell phone has Google. Back in the 80s, you didn't have that. You had to know these things, right? Like how to make a bomb out of a paperclip, chewing gum, and a bottle of water. And that was impressive because you're like, holy shit, I wouldn't have never thought of that. Now it's just like, someone's trying to rob me. Let's see, what's the phone number for 911?
I think the twist will be he'll be in areas where there is no cell service at all times.
Which is going to be the most ridiculous. That's one of the things that annoys the piss out of me about modern TV.
T-Mobile.
Yeah, right. Like, I can only afford T-Mobile on my mercenary salary.
Oh, I'm over my data cap. Crap.
We only had 1 gig free. This is the definition of a show that will probably get greenlit because they think it's a great revival and get canceled before it hits 5 episodes.
I'm just money. I will put money that on the first episode he's going to go, I know your cell phone doesn't work, but let me see it. I can make something out of it. Like, God, dude. Right there, cell phone. Like, it doesn't make it better,
But didn't we think that with cell phones and things like that would kind of make horror movies, that would reduce horror movies' effectiveness?
This is why, but look at it like this. Most horror movies nowadays take place in the 80s and 70s because they know that the people are going to go, it's 2015, why doesn't this chick have a goddamn cell phone? Or they just so happen to wind up in the only area in the United States that Verizon doesn't cover.
Coverage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Or they do things like Unfriended. They use social media to
Which was
kind of
cool.
tweak the storyline, or they say, "Oh, she's being chased by a guy. Oh, ha, funny post. I'll like that post rather than call 911."
Yeah.
God forbid we use our brains.
Yes.
But yeah, this is pointless. Why? Why?
Because properties that already exist are less risky than new properties that are interesting.
It's going to cross over with the 15th CSI and NCIS series.
You don't speak ill of NCIS. You can
Or
speak
CSI.
ill of NCIS New Orleans or Los Angeles, or there's another one too. But
Or CSI Miami, which was the biggest piece of poop ever.
Yeah, but we got to see David Caruso take off his sunglasses like
So
40
many
million times.
So many bad intros. Oh, take sunglasses, turn to the screen. He's coming up with some bad pun.
But they all had the Who,
Delicious.
so it's good.
They all had
He's got
to
his
do.
Hummer. He's driving 90 miles per hour. He is the science police, to the extreme.
I got this delved from MacGyver into a discussion about David Caruso and his sunglasses.
David Caruso from MacGyver. I will watch it.
Oh, that's
I
a
will
great.
watch it.
Oh,
Okay.
that he'd have like the
I
red-
would watch that.
the mullet with the ginger mullet.
Yeah. Well, and see, I mean, the reason why I think we all would watch it is because it would be like seeing a train accident, right? Like a train wreck. You're just going to be like, I have to look at this.
Well, they could do what you said, set this in the 80s again.
Yeah, Caruso would fit into the 80s. Just hopefully it wouldn't become another movie like Jade. Anyway, it's being reported that ABC will be bringing Marvel's Damage Control to its channel. Damage Control, in the comics, was the company that cleaned up and estimated the damage caused by the world's superheroes. So in other words, they are glorified janitors, which still sounds better than any reality show on air. Also, before Josh goes, I don't really like it. If they did it in the Office style, Josh would love it.
Yeah, if they made this a mockumentary, one, that's the only way I see it working. Two, I would watch the shit out of that show.
Yeah.
Every week on my DVR, that would take precedence over everything. I need another show to fill my Office and Parks and Rec void in my heart.
I mean, this was just a very funny book back in the early '90s, I believe. Just very comedic, kind of like they have the worst job in the world. They constantly run into like third-tier characters. Very witty, and I think this is a way for Marvel to branch out rather than having another Agents of Shield series. Do something funny. They can touch on what's happening in the MCU by just, talking about stupid little bits.
But I mean, they could also show up at like damage sites after the movies and whatnot,
Right.
and even have body double stand in where they're like, really, Cap, you couldn't stop this building from coming down, type stuff. And actually, I really hope they do it in a mockumentary style because that would be hilarious. I think it would make the show so much better. Than just having it as a regular like try to be comedic TV show, because sitting there and having like a guy like, well, my name's Ted, I work damage assessment, I've been doing it for 3 years, I don't know, I don't like my life.
Give like rivalries, like he hates a certain superhero or certain villain because of, they always put slime down or they always, burn buildings or something like that. Yeah.
Be phenomenal. It would be phenomenal. But also on the Marvel front, our favorite, the liar Feige, recently stated in an interview that he loved how Ronda Rousey was campaigning for the part of Captain Marvel. This doesn't mean they will choose her, however, and I am sure that Mr. Lying Liar Pants Feige is so scared to meet her one-on-one because of the arm submission.
Yeah. She's been campaigning pretty hard. She's pulling a Tyrese right now, which I'm not digging. But if she really thinks she could get it, cool. Don't give up on your dreams, kid. But you're not getting Captain Marvel. I hate to break it to you.
And I saw her do an interview recently with Jimmy Fallon where she was talking about playing Mario Kart with him. She has an energetic personality, but I just don't feel like she has acting chops, really, in a sense that she can.
Fury 7. She does not.
Yeah, she can't carry a film, but she could do the Dave Bautista. I mean, be a Titania or another woman. She could be maybe a She-Hulk. That's not the main focus of a movie. But if you have She-Hulk as the focus of a movie, you want somebody else.
I just I don't know, Todd, if you heard us talk about this before, but I mean, at least my feeling is that Captain Marvel needs to be the best movie that Marvel puts out all time. Not only because it will be their first female character on screen, like on the big screen, but also they owe Carol Danvers for all of that shit in the 80s. I'm sorry, the whole I'm having a demon baby and I was raped thing, like, no.
Best known for having her powers taken by Rogue.
Yeah. I mean, anything that could possibly happen that was completely crappy has happened to Carol Danvers.
Give her a drinking problem. Yay!
Yeah. Let's.
That's coming an all new, all different Marvel.
What haven't we done to Carol this week? Staph infection? Put it in the comic.
No, they've made her pregnant. No, they've not made her pregnant yet. So that'll eventually happen, though, right?
Well, she was pregnant with a demon baby.
Oh no, I mean like it's
recently. You mean, right? Like, oh yeah, no. Recently, Well, recently, they've treated her well. And it's nothing personal against Ronda Rousey. Obviously, she's a very talented woman in the ring. She's a very charismatic woman during her interviews, and she is a nerd girl. I don't know if you guys watched her interview where she started talking about Pokemon and whatnot. She knows her stuff. And look, maybe I'm softening up to it a little bit, but Captain Marvel's not coming out until 2019?
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
That's still like 3.5 years away. So they'll probably start shooting late 2018. If Rhonda, man,
2017.
2017, 2018, whatever. If she gets some acting lessons, or maybe she has another gear of acting that she just hasn't gone to, because I mean, let's face it, she hasn't been in a movie where she has needed to be pushed into being an actress, right? She's been in The Expendables and Fast and the Furious.
And Entourage.
And Entourage, right? So, I mean, that's like saying I go out fine dining, but you see me at Olive Garden every weekend. It's not but if someone's like, here, go to this fancy
I
restaurant,
love Olive Garden.
and that's why you're a low-class person. But anyway, I'm kidding. I love you to death. You're not low-class. That face, Josh. That face. But maybe she does have another gear that we haven't seen. Maybe she tests really well. Who knows? I will say this, and I know I bashed it before, but the more and more I see the mockumentary pictures of her in Captain Marvel suit, the more I like it. So, I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, I think Todd brought up a really good point. It's my last thing on this. I think he brought up a good point that she could easily pull a Dave Bautista. A lot of people didn't think that he could pull off Drax, and that not only was Drax arguably one of the best parts of Guardians of the Galaxy last year, but he's now going to be one of the leads in Spectre next month. So that's just amazing.
Yeah, I mean, the role of Drax played to Batista's strengths. It did.
Yes.
Right, they gave him the campy dialogue,
Yes.
and he got to just be this badass who beat the crap out of everything.
Yeah, and I think the same with her. I mean, there's no reason why she can't play a character that fits her talent level to that level. But with Captain Marvel, like you said, Kiku, it needs to be a fantastic movie because this is a really, really strong character that unfortunately doesn't have a lot of really recognizable villains and things like that where Captain America does. So you've got to make it all about that main character and her journey because most people have no clue who she is. Talk about a niche character. I mean, this is the Guardians of the Galaxy level of nobody knows about this character unless you're a big comic book fan. And as a female character, you've got a bigger, a higher bridge to cross. But I mean, higher bridge to cross. Bridges are high. Sorry. Higher bar to go over.
Not according to Robin Hood Men in Tights. Those bridges are not high.
But I mean, at this point, how many female movies will have been out by the time this comes out? Wonder Woman, is that it?
That's it.
Yes.
Okay.
That's
so
why it's
not
so
much
important.
competition yet.
No, I mean, because like Ant-Man and Wasp, that's a co-headlining film. But
Sure. Actually, Todd, since you said she could be a side character, what about Ronda Rousey for Phi Lavelle?
I'm going to claim, not that much knowledge about that character. So
Female Quasar.
Oh, well, maybe. Once again, take another character that's very niche.
But think about that, right? This is how Guardians of the Galaxy survived Dave Bautista, though, right? I don't give a shit how many people now say they know who Drax is. Let's be honest. You didn't know who Drax was unless you were a cosmic reader.
Yep.
I mean, even when me and you talked before Guardians, Todd, after you even said, you didn't know that much about the cosmic and whatnot. Drax on screen is completely different than Drax in the comics.
Yep.
Like, insanely different. But it worked in the movie, right? So if you're going to put her in there, you're not too sure, you want her to be a side character, but you want her to be someone powerful, like they did with Dave Bautista, female Quasar, Phi Lavelle. Very few of us are going to know who that is, So we're just going to take your word for it, Marvel. Put her on screen.
We'll see.
We'll see. Josh,
yes.
are you wearing your tight pants today?
No, I'm wearing stretchy pants.
Good, because in a little 6 to midnight confirmation news, George Miller himself has stated he has 2 scripts of Mad Max from what was left over from Fury Road. The next film will be called Mad Max: The Wasteland. Catchy. He said he won't be doing it next as he would like a breather between Max films because of the rigorous shooting conditions in the desert. Of course, this might be expedited when Fury Road wins some awards, because it had better. Like, not even joking. You took Matthew McConaughey's Best Actor in a TV Series award away from me, so you owe me, Hollywood.
Yeah, I don't think that Miller's going to stay away from Mad Max. I think the Oscar push that the movie's making right now, he's definitely going to come back to it sooner rather than later. And I mean, what else could he possibly have to do? He shot down the idea of doing Superman.
Well, he said that he wanted to do something small without special effects. Like that was the main reason. He just wanted to
I
do a
swear to God,
small.
if we get Happy Feet 3 before another Mad Max, I'm going to kill somebody.
Well, that is all special effects, isn't it?
Yes.
It's all CG. I will seriously kill somebody if we get another Happy Feet film before we get another Mad Max.
Look, man, that just shows how versatile that man is.
I don't care. He did two of those in the last decade, and it took us like 15 years to get Fury Road. It was worth the wait, but come on.
Sure.
He hasn't gone back to Babe in a while.
That's true. It's true. Yeah, we totally need a Babe 3 Netflix exclusive.
It would actually be.
Dead Calm 2, the deadening, calming.
No, I'm thinking it should be called Babe 3: The Wasteland.
Crossover, the ultimate crossover.
The ultimate crossover. I'm just a pig in a chaotic world.
And then Elijah Wood's gonna come running around because he was the
No,
penguin.
he's gonna be Babe. He's gonna be Babe.
Oh,
They will
God.
put him in a Babe costume.
No, just stop. Just stop. Not okay with any of this.
No special effects, just human actors with like pig snout, like those little those things you wear like for costumes.
He's
Yeah.
taking some inspiration from the Bajas movement.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, in other Mad Max news, George Miller, again, all praise he that is Miller, has stated that he wouldn't mind seeing somebody else take the reins of the Mad Max franchise, similar to how Star Wars is being handled. Miller specifically stated that he has 3 directors in mind who would do the franchise justice, but wouldn't name any of them other than Guillermo del Toro. Horrible choice.
Yeah, please, God, if there is an insert religious deity here, this will not happen.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing another director, truthfully, if Miller was still the EP on it and wrote it, but Del Toro is a god-awful choice for this. It'll never get made.
I think visually he's a good choice, but let's be honest, he'll put it on his things to do list, and then it'll be things that don't get done list.
That's
Like
what I'm
everything
saying.
else.
Along with his video game projects that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's going to get canceled and not show up on the PSN store anymore.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, George Miller's 70 years old.
yeah, that's why I'm saying, like,
Yeah.
Miller, hurry up and make this. Hurry up and make us a final Mad Max, because we're just right off into the sunset after that. I'm good with it. Just one more.
I'm actually curious at who he thinks the other 2 directors could be, because Miller's like visual style was. I wonder, man, like I just don't. I can't think of anyone that could pull that off besides him. You know what I mean? Because it's his universe. It's like his head.
I mean, I think the director is part of it, but arguably more important to Mad Max, at least with how Fury Road was and when I think back to Road Warrior. Miller's direction is key. The cinematography, though, is just as key.
Yes.
So depending on who you get to shoot it, that would have arguably a bigger influence than the director.
Sure.
I've heard rumblings of Josh Trank.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Just kidding.
I would love to see Terry Gilliam do a Mad Max movie.
Would it be too comedic? I mean, he doesn't do a lot of just straight on like serious, roles.
But there's been comedy, like goofy little bits here and there in the Mad
Yeah, a little
Max
slapstick
films.
sometimes.
Yeah, but for the most part, Gilliam's latest films have been really serious,
Mhm.
and he is a visual auteur.
Hmm.
I think one of the only ones that I would be interested in seeing, but it would require him to get a certain cinematographer. After seeing Skyfall and what we've seen of Spectre so far, Sam Mendes. I think he's perfectly capable of executing something that is serious but also action-packed at the same time, and could embrace the madness of Max. I mean, we saw the craziness of not craziness, that's the wrong term, but like
Psychopathic, sociopathic tendencies of
the
Bond.
sociopathic tendencies of Daniel Craig's James Bond in particular, and that looks to expand upon it in Spectre. Get Roger Deakins, his cinematographer from Skyfall. I will fight anybody who says that was not one of the most gorgeous films of the last decade.
No, the dude when they actually go to Skyfall, it's actually just
Yeah,
phenomenal.
it's 2 hours of as someone who's been to film school, that's 2 hours of a clinic of how to shoot a film.
I got one curveball one, okay, and his favorite actors and actresses can't be attached to it. Just him,
God, please say Christopher Nolan.
Tim Burton.
No,
Ooh. Can Tim Burton make a movie like that again? Can he go
that
back to his?
that see
That's
that's my concern.
well, no. I'm just this is like pure speculation, fantasy, right? Let's say Tim Burton, 1980s.
It's an out there enough choice that again I think he could embody the psychological aspect of Max, but I'm terrified for what he would do to that film visually. I think it would become more of a CG fest than anything.
He doesn't use a well. I mean,
Well, his latest movies have been CG effects, like
CG,
Alice
but
in
As
Wonderland.
CG
Yeah.
has become more and more prominent, he's used a ton of it, and that's what
but
would scare me.
what about this though? If he was going into it, right, knowing that he had to go back to practical effects,
Yeah.
because let's be honest, that's like really the only way to pull Mad Max off is practically.
So you're thinking like
Yeah,
Beetlejuice, Pee-wee's Big Adventure type of that kind of look,
I'm
but
thinking, yeah, well, I mean, Burton definitely grasped onto the whole concept of larger than life, right? And I mean, I think if we're gonna send Mad Max out on something, it should be this larger than life, crazy wasteland adventure. I mean, hell, even take him into the tunnels underneath the waste. You know what I mean? We've seen them, just not like a lot.
okay, I've got one for you then. Sam
Sure.
Raimi. Sam Raimi, when he was making his very, Evil Dead and just that kind of crazy film angles and the wackiness was with it, but plus also a pending sense of doom. He also made those I can't remember what it was, a crime wave he made,
Yeah.
just weird and different and yeah, I mean, yeah, his latest movies have been so and things like that. But yeah, I mean,
So is a nice way to put shit.
I know.
I would be very okay with that if Bruce Campbell was Max's like sidekick, just for that
yes,
movie.
Yeah.
yeah, that's entirely necessary if that's going to happen, and a crossover with Evil Dead.
That'd be strange. I would watch it. I'd watch the shit out of it.
Oh, I would too. Day one purchase.
Yep. Well, do we want to read this? Yeah, it's Star Wars. Josh wants to read it. The Rappin'
What did you do
Latino.
last night?
I noticed. The Rappin' Latino reviewer reporting that long-standing rumors were indeed correct, and one-time Star Wars anthology director Josh, I crushed the shit out of Fantastic Four Trank, was set to direct a Boba Fett spin-off film. Trank, who was allegedly let go following reports of erratic behavior on the set of Fantastic Four, erratic. That's a word, was also allegedly seeking Michael B. Jordan for the lead role of the most overrated minor character in a movie ever. Really, Josh?
I put that in there just for you.
Thank you, I appreciate it. The film was set to take place in the post-Return of the Jedi timeframe, and following Trank... You put Tank, okay, but Trank's departure...
That was that intended?
Yeah, I hope so. I don't know. Straight Outta Compton director F. Gary Gray was supposedly in strong contention for the directing gig. Seriously, though, what tentpole film isn't this guy in the running for? And now we do know he chose Fast and Furious 8 over the
He
Black
chose
Panther.
Furious 8 over Black Panther and over Star Wars.
Like,
Vin Diesel
Taking
must
the
have
easy route.
given certain favors to this man.
I want to talk to Ray about this. I will talk to Ray about this next week.
So what does the F in F Gary Gray stand for?
Well, it probably stands for this. It was to be called Fett's Vet and be all about the tattooing pimp lifestyle as a bounty hunter. Screenplay to be written by MCP Pants. Frederick. Fanny?
Father.
Fan Douglas? Is that a name?
Franz.
Franz. My name
Franz.
is
That's
Franz
it.
Gary Gray.
That's it. That's it. We're never gonna find out the truth because Franz.
When I,
You guys must refer to him from now on, Franz.
when I direct my movies, I bring my monkey. Franz Gary Gray.
So wait, so he was going to have Michael B. Jordan as Boba Fett,
Yep.
Yes.
considering everything we've already seen with Boba Fett. no question about that. Are we saying basically the fact that he would be a totally different, look differently, we wouldn't have a bad eye about that? Is it kind of like, is that something we would be fine with? I don't know.
I mean, my thing is, so I love Boba Fett, right? One of my favorite characters in Star Wars, just his
No,
appearances in the
He
movies.
shined in episode 2.
no,
Oh Jesus! Don't
no.
even with me. Jango Fett though was the Boba Fett I always wanted, and Tremere Morrison I thought did pretty swell with that considering
Yep.
what Lucas wrote for him in terms of dialogue. Um, I would have overlooked this in a heartbeat to get an actor like Michael B. Jordan in the Star Wars universe. He very versatile actor. I think it's less important who's in the armor because presumably he wouldn't have really taken the helmet off very much. It could easily be explained away, like maybe this isn't the same Boba Fett that was operating during even Empire. If it's set after Return of the Jedi, maybe that Boba Fett did die and he's just taken up the mantle of Boba. Something like that. But the whole idea of doing a film based off Boba Fett does not sit well with me. You're taking who's supposed to be one of the most notorious villains operating during the original trilogy and trying to make him into a hero, presumably. That doesn't work. Boba Fett only works because he has the balls to stand up to Vader. I was telling Kiku about this the other night. He's the only one who mouths off to Vader in the entire series, not called Luke Skywalker or Han Solo.
Does it work
Um,
better as a like kind of like a Dirty Dozen, a Suicide Squad type, get the bounty hunters together, and he's
if
kind of
they
like the leader?
if they did a Bounty Hunters Guild film, God, not Suicide Squad, but
What I mean,
I
just
think
brought together, people, with different interests and
if they adapted
motivations.
Kevin J. Anderson's Tales from the Bounty Hunters, that could work in a sense. Or if what I've been saying since they announced the Han Solo film, he is going to be either the primary antagonist or he's going to be one of the main characters in that film. Because you have to establish that relationship. That's the only way I get okay with this.
Uh, he needs to be just like the main villain. Like that's it. None of this. Let's turn him into a hero. Suicide
No.
Squad shit.
And he wouldn't be in a Han Solo film. That's what I'm getting at. 'Cause
No,
these
no, no.
guys-
I know what you're talking about. It's just that this whole like, Star Wars fan base that overswells Boba Fett's, whatever his. He's not that cool, man. He got accidentally knocked into the fucking Sarlacc pit.
by a blind guy.
By a blind guy. Like, if you're so fucking badass and you've taken out all these dudes, you would be aware of the situations around you. But no, blind Han Solo, who was probably constipated from coming out of the carbonite, accidentally hits you into Jabba's fucking ship, and then you go into the Sarlacc pit. He's dead, man. He just let it go. The Twinkie does not come out of the stomach afterwards to seek revenge.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, if Michael B. Jordan just took up the mantle of Boba Fett, took his armor, I would be okay with that. Like somebody trying to steal that legacy, or keep the legacy alive of Boba Fett's nefarious ways. I could get behind that. They've already alluded to it in the post Return of the Jedi canon. Now they've alluded to it that the Jawas found the armor at least. They don't make any mention of the man. They just mention that they found the armor and that they're selling it to somebody. What if that somebody is Michael B. Jordan? What if that was his character? Not saying that I want this at all. I don't want a Boba Fett film. I love Fett. I do not want it. But that's a way you could kind of make this work. I think I'm more intrigued that F. Gary Gray was going to be in talks to direct this. Was like a serious contender. So that shows that they're taking these seriously, to me.
Yeah, I mean, just like any kid of the 80s, the fact that he looked cool was probably more important to Boba Fett than anything he ever did on the screen. Yeah, I think there's more to be done with it. I mean, obviously, and my frustration with Star Wars right now has been, while it's great that they want to do these prequel movies, let's have them on different characters than just more of the same 6 characters we've been focusing on the last 30 or 40 years.
Right.
Why can't these movies be between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens, rather than just, taking place between episodes 4 and 5 or 5 and 6?
And that's definitely part of my frustration as a Star Wars superfan. I had that initial question. I think they want to fill a lot of that with comics and books first. They don't want to shoehorn themselves in with a movie particularly, because if you do it between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens, inevitably people are going to be like, well, why aren't Luke and Han in it? Why isn't Leia here? Why isn't Chewie here? Doing it before these, with the exception of the Han Solo film, kind of alleviates any need for that. That's why I'm so excited about Rogue One. It's a cast of entirely original characters, most likely. Nobody in there is recognizable, except I'm convinced Biggs is in it, and it allows for you to play with that with a story that we already know. Like, we know the Death Star plans get stolen, but we get to see people who aren't Jedi running around. They only have their wit and their will to survive. I love that. I love the idea of that. The everyman in Star Wars is what excited me. That's why I was attached to characters like Boba Fett and Han Solo from a young age. I didn't want to play lightsabers. I wanted to play with the guns. The Nerf guns, I'll clarify. Yeah, I think if you were to put this after Return of the Jedi, it would be really cool. But again, we don't need this. Nobody wants it.
No. No, and it was funny. I just saw they just announced a comic book series at New York Comic Con. Don't know if you saw this, Josh. Another set of stories about Obi-Wan and Anakin in their adventures.
God, let it
I'm like,
go.
really? And this is my concern about Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan has been on screen more than almost any other character except for C-3PO and R2-D2. He was in Episode 4, then he was on Episode 1, 2, and 3, and then the Clone Wars animated series.
Don't forget his Force Ghost.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's the character we know the most about, really, than anybody else. So we don't need more of that.
I mean, we don't even need more of Anakin. Like, we're done with his story. We got so much in the Clone Wars. The prequels were all about him and Obi-Wan. We don't need to see that Obi-Wan it's supposed to be about, like, his self-doubt and, like, Anakin being rebellious. Like, we already know that from Episode 2, though, that Anakin was rebellious. Mm-hmm. And that Obi-Wan has doubts as a teacher. And those doubts are founded in Revenge of the Sith, obviously. He considers Anakin to be his greatest failure. I feel the same way I do about that as I did about Anakin getting a Padawan. It's unnecessary. We don't need it. I don't care how cool people think Ahsoka turned out to be. It still was unnecessary, and it screwed with everything. It screwed with the timeline of everything, in my opinion. But yeah, no, just stop. Marvel, you've been on such a kick with these comics. Don't do this. I have not disliked a comic I've read from you yet on Star Wars. Please don't start it with this. Don't go back to the prequel era. Just let it go.
No,
there's too much.
There's some more cool things they could do. They could take the extended universe example where they had like Tales of the Bounty Hunter, or they had like some weird stories that were interesting and did new things. They could even do, if they wanted to do an Obi-Wan before Episode 1. If they want to do things before before Episode 1, his Jedi make it like
give me some stuff with Qui-Gon.
Yeah. What about them? Their adventures beforehand. What did they do? How did Obi-Wan get discovered by Qui-Gon Jinn, and things like that? And maybe them finding out things about the Sith. That would be fun. But that's like area that we don't know much about in the Star Wars versus these interstitials, which are just kind of like, oh, that's great, but it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, the world does not need more Obi-Wan and Anakin bromance. No. Kiku, are we ready to move on?
Yes, we can. We can. Do you know what can make TV show better for our beloved Rachel Finney? Why, if Marilyn Manson joined the cast of Gotham. The once famous and now over-the-hill rock star has stated that he would love to be on Gotham. Manson has been on TV before and actually done a good job. Check Sons of Anarchy for proof. But with the way Gotham is going, you know what? Screw it. Manson for Batgirl.
I don't even know what to say to this.
It's your favorite show. It's still on TV, Josh.
I hate Gotham so much.
You love it. You love it with biscuits and gravy in the morning.
No, nice. I love biscuits and gravy. I gorge myself on biscuits and gravy. This is something I would be okay with never seeing again in my life.
Todd, are you still watching Gotham?
I am. I just watched the premiere episode. My DVR had a screw up and everything, so I haven't seen the later episodes than that. They're doing some interesting things. I mean, they're doing things we haven't seen in the Batman universe. I'm not a prequel fan, so this is kind of like that area of, well, if they were really important characters, would they have not been in the mainstream comics? But this is an alternate universe tale. I get it. They have done a good job of not making this about Bruce. I mean, it's part of his journey, but the main focus has been the villains and on Gordon. And that's what it's all. That's what the focus has been on the show. Made interesting. Now, when I think of Marilyn Manson and where he could play out, there's a brand new character they just brought into Batman called Mr. Bloom. He's kind of weird looking. He kind of controls people with kind of like a drug he puts on the street. I could see Marilyn Manson doing that type of character because they already have a Scarecrow. They already have a Zaz. I'm trying to think of weird characters that he would be good for. I don't know. Maybe.
What's the pig killer guy's name?
Oh yes, that weird group. Oh God, what's his name? He was in the Beware the Batman.
He wears like the pig mask and he like kills people with like butcher knives and whatnot.
They have weird affected speech, kind of like almost like if they were like parts of a Alice in Wonderland tale. Yeah. I'm trying to remember his name. He was a Grant Morrison, I believe, creation. So once again, that tells you a lot about that character.
I refuse to watch this show. I watched the first 10 episodes. Still, I'll make comments on it because I can, and this is the internet, and that's what we do. But I personally have no interest in this, even if Marilyn Manson did come to the show, and he's actually done a pretty good job at acting recently. I don't really care about the origin of the Joker. I like the fact that the Joker just kind of came out of nowhere and there is no rhyme or reason to him. Like, that's his whole thing, right? Like, he is chaos. Let's keep it that way. I don't need to know that, he grew up this way and went to prison with this guy and he used to have red hair. Like, I don't give a shit about that. Come on.
So you've just basically discredited the whole prequel premise.
Yep.
That's why I do not like prequels, because I feel like if that was an important element of a story, you probably would have told that there, but it's basically story filler, it's fan service, and typically it doesn't move the needle forward. It's just more of the same.
Well, and that's the thing is that giving a rhyme or reason to the Joker pretty much deflates the reason why he just does crazy shit. That was the great thing about The Dark Knight, was the explanation of, the Joker. There's just some men that want to watch the world burn. And I thought that was a phenomenal way to describe the Joker. They didn't, and the best thing is that Nolan even toyed with the whole, him telling, do you know how I got these scars? That wasn't the cool part. The cool part was that he lied every single time, so that you didn't know who this guy was. You knew nothing about him. He told you things that, could be true, couldn't be true. And that's what made him terrifying, was that you couldn't, plan for this character. If you know that his mom, didn't hug him enough or hugged him too much, you get a sense of where he's coming from, and you don't want to know that. At least for that character. Other characters, sure.
It's like Wolverine. It's like Boba Fett. It's those characters that part of what makes them interesting is the unknown, and fleshing that out takes away a lot of the stories you've created in your own head of saying what makes them cool. I don't want to know that Wolverine grew up as a little fancy pants boy, in 18th century Canada. I don't really care about that. I don't care if Boba Fett was a little boy and watched his father's head get chopped off by a Jedi. I don't care about that stuff.
No. Plus, I mean, especially with a villain, it's more the fear of the unknown than the known that gets to you. So, is what it is. And of course, what would our show be without some Destiny news, or as hooked as Josh and I are, crackening? Tess Eververse will be back in games selling emotes for real-world currency. On October 13th, she will show back up in the tower, and you can purchase all the dance moves you want. But let's face it, no one is born with sweet, sweet dance moves. You have to pay for them with blood, sweat, and a new currency called silver. This is actually under a lot of scrutiny at the moment. Even IGN's kind of panning on it because it's microtransactions. And everybody's like, well, what could this mean for the future of Destiny? Oh my god, nothing. It means nothing. They just want to make a little extra money.
The thing, I mean, I understand completely where the fears are coming from, because my fear is the same that a lot of people have echoed. I don't trust Bungie to stop here. And before you say that if they start charging for weapons or supers that it would be game-breaking, it would be, but I still don't trust them to not do it.
Are you
I don't.
saying Bungie or Activision?
Yeah, that's actually what I wanted to get
Activision
at.
more than anything. But there's no denying that Bungie is absolutely not the same company that made us Halo at this point. Um, I think Bungie's approach to business has been drastically altered in the past couple of years, but I don't trust Activision. They charge for stuff willy-nilly all the time in Call of Duty, and I don't want to see Destiny turn into that. I don't want there to be, like, oh, pay $1 for this special gun to use in Crucible or something. Like, no, I don't want that shit. That's not what we should be having.
Um,
That is my fear. That's my ultimate fear with this. I don't really care about the emotes because you don't have to buy them. If you don't want them, don't buy them. But this is going to help fund new content, ultimately.
and and of course, this glosses over the fact that they said that they'll also be giving out free story content like every few months, which is phenomenal. Hey, man, if you want me to buy some emotes and then over the next year you're going to be giving me much more story after the Taken King, hey, gravy, dude, I'm all for it. I had a couple of thoughts actually, Josh, about them selling weapons. They could sell weapons.
Oh, no.
They could sell special weapons, but for a minute, just sit back. All right. Statistically, none of them are different. The only thing that's different is like if you shoot somebody in the head, confetti pops out of their body.
Ooh.
You
Rainbow
know
guns.
exactly. Like something stupid like that. Like
So cosmetic effects.
exactly. Like if they're you're paying for cosmetic stuff. Okay. And me and Josh have gone back and forth on this. If you start paying for guns that level the playing field, though, of Destiny, one, their PvP doesn't need to be balanced because it doesn't matter what level you are, you're even on their playing field, right? Because they scale everything. The only time it's not scaled is Iron Banner, where your level and your weapons do count. Which again,
that happens once a month, right? That's
yeah,
not every day.
Exactly. Which I mean, I don't see how you would work in buy this gun and it will be so much better in PvP when it won't matter because in regular PvP it's going to be scaled anyway.
And
Right?
no
It's
one's
not
ever
like
complained about Iron Banner being like the competitive version of Crucible, anyways.
no, because most high-level players are like, we can't wait for Iron Banner to get around because there's no way that this level 7 is jacking me up with a shotgun if we're in Iron Banner.
Yep.
Then then it's really fair. We put in the time. We want to play with other players of our level and our caliber. So I don't really see them selling guns anytime soon. For PvE, I mean, it would be game breaking, especially if you get somebody who buys the game, then pays an extra $40, and all of a sudden they're raid ready. Like, that's not fair. I don't care if they're paying extra money. This is about the time, the effort, learning the mechanics. It's not about, am I willing to pay more to win? Like, pay to win is something that every MMO fan hates, every RPG player hates, because it takes away from the game itself. Like, if I can pay to beat it, what's the point of even buying it in the first place?
Has there been an example of where a company gone from everything's level playing field to a pay to win? I'm not aware of one.
Not really pay to win. Guild Wars 2 did a microtransaction model that was actually very well done. The fan base did accept it very well. Nobody panned it or anything like that, or caused a big stir. But then again, Guild Wars, the community is so much smaller than what a Bungie game would have or a console game would have and whatnot. I don't see them doing microtransactions for weapons or armor. And if they do, it's going to be like, if you buy this shader, it turns your armor into you looking like the Flash, or turns you into looking like Deadpool, or something silly like that. Other than that, I just, even Activision couldn't be that stupid.
No.
And as I say that, I doubt it.
I mean, quite honestly, people will burn out on the Taken King content. We know that.
Yeah.
And the way that they will keep people around is adding this free content. And if people want more emotes, I know people are now saying that the Warlock emote for the Taken King is the worst. It looks like you're doing a Shakira dance. I don't know what it is. It's absolutely horrible. I would pay for like a Carlton dance or something to make it more fun, because you do emotes a lot. in the game. It's just fun. It's something you do. But yeah, I mean, if they ever made this game pay for better weapons, and some people have even questioned, could they charge for strange coins, three of coins, or motes of light, or something like that, which is a currency. Some people may have a problem with that, but some people would say, well, I want to play the game, but I don't have 1,000 hours. I still just want to play with my buddies.
Well, like strange coins and motes of light, I wouldn't really care about, right? Because right now, what Xur sells on the weekends is not better than the shit that you can get.
No, it's trash.
Yeah. So, hey, if you want to sell strange coins at right now and people want to buy them, and they're dumb enough to do that, thumbs up, do it. Because it doesn't matter right now. Motes of light, if you're paying for motes of light because you don't have the time to go out and get the 9,000 that they give you every week from just playing the game, then cool, man, do it. That stuff's not game breaking. Three of coins, maybe. Although,
it's a chance. It's like playing the lottery.
I mean, I didn't do any of the farming stuff with the three of coins. I just use it, I guess, as it's intended to be used, which is anytime I know I'm going to fight a boss, I pop a three of coins. However, I've gotten maybe 2-3 exotics off of it, and nothing like that. I was just like, oh my god, blah, blah, blah. Not only that, I just had this conversation with one of our TKB members, Alex Correa, who, we were talking about exotics, and in all honesty, most of the legendaries are better than the exotics this year.
Exactly.
For me, the exotic armor is completely situational. I think the exotic I use the most right now on my Hunter, #Hunter Master Race, me and Josh, is Celestial Nighthawk, right?
Oh, by far.
But other than that, I'm full legendary. I don't care about any of the other stuff. On my Titan, I use Immolation Fist because it has Pyre on it. But other than that,
with the exotic armor, though, it's finally working as intended. It was supposed to be situational from the beginning, I think.
Yep.
And again, this is another example of how the game is finally how it should have been at launch. It is all situational because sometimes I have my Nighthawk on, sometimes I have my exotic chest piece on, etc. And the weapons are the same way because you're torn between, crap, do I want to have my exotic sword on because that's my only 310 exotic so that I'm high enough level?
Always have the exotic sword on. There's no reason to take it off.
There's plenty of reasons to take it off.
Don't you dare!
Do I want to use a gun? I mean, the exotic guns have always been situational, right? No moron is running around with No Land Beyond equipped all the time.
Okay, that is a horrible. That is a horrible example. No Land Beyond. Remember
No Land Beyond, Universal Remote. There's plenty of those.
Yep, exotic primaries are a pain in the butt.
But I mean, if you look at like
multi-tool Master Race right there.
Yeah, well but I mean, this year taking its place is Boolean Gemini, and Boolean Gemini is worth it to keep on all the time.
It really is.
It really is. But I find that like you don't need to have it on. You know what I mean? Like
that's what I'm saying. Like it's all situational. I mean, Touch of Malice I have purely for the raid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
definitely.
I don't know. It's better balance. I'm very afraid for microtransactions and what they could mean. After they promised they would never put microtransactions into the game.
Like, Josh, you and I have talked about this many a times about the whole, MMO model coming to a console. And I'm with you. I'm okay with the emotes, right?
Yes.
I'm fine with it.
Yes.
Do that. Shaders. Special shaders. Halloween theme stuff. If you want to sell that, to try to build up a little extra money to keep servers on, to create more content. Hey man, I'm all for it. The instant that they sell guns and armor for the game will be probably the day that I'm like, there's no point anymore. Like I'm not gonna waste.
If they violate that trust that we're giving, basically, by saying, yeah, it's cool to sell emotes, the minute that trust gets violated is the minute that I chuck Destiny in the trash, truthfully. Yeah. As much as I enjoy the game, that's when I toss the disc out and I'm like, well, time to move on to something else because that's bullcrap.
Yeah, I mean, when are we supposed to get the next content drop? I mean, is it going to be a spring?
Right now it's just free stuff. They haven't announced any timetable, but according to Kotaku, we won't see another expansion until next year, and it'll be the Taken King size. Everything else is going to be like free quests and story missions and stuff that'll be added in every couple of months. presumably with new exotic drops, things like that. If it's more quests like not Black Spindle, because Black Spindle's a nightmare. If it's another thing that gets the community super engaged, like the Sleeper Stimulant did, I'm all for it.
Yeah,
I'm
for sure.
all for that. That stuff was awesome. For 2-3 weeks, people were trying to figure this gun out, and then it's just because Bungie didn't flip the switch.
Yeah.
So I think now they know not to tease things before they're in the game.
Yeah, I mean, in most MMOs, I mean, you go how long without an expansion? I mean, World of Warcraft, they're renowned for going forever, and they lose half of their audience that doesn't stick around because there are things to do, but you run out of things, and the subscription I think is what pays for the extra missions.
Exactly.
Keep you going. So, and that's where if the emotes and things pay for those extra missions, to me, Destiny isn't. I mean, there is the Crucible element, which is competitive against that, but quite honestly, the majority of people are in it for the PvE, and I don't know if that's a big thing to say. Oh, it's kind of like, oh, you didn't find a Gallahorn, you suck. You had to buy it. I mean, well, I don't know.
The Gallahorn thing, comes down to it. If you bought Gallahorn in the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks, whatever, or month, however long it was when Xur decided to sell it again, look, I played Destiny hardcore for like 6 months straight and never sniffed a Gallahorn. You know what I mean? So I bought 2 when Xur had them, and I'm not ashamed to admit that. I feel I earned it by that point. You know what I mean? Like, that's a little different. You know what I mean? Like, if it's in-game, you're using in-game currency that you earned through playing the game, completely different than you just going, I played 15 minutes of this game. I don't have the patience nor the time to really learn the mechanics and how to be good at it, so I'm just going to purchase all the good stuff so that'll cover up for me not wanting to learn as everybody else did. That's granted, that's the real world and how some people do stuff. But when you're talking about a gaming community, especially a game that's been out now for longer than a year, and all of us have done, Crota, we've done Vault of Glass, King's Fall, Prison of Elders, the PvP, all of the story missions, we've all gotten through it without having to purchase the stuff. We just want to know that new players coming into the game are going to have to go through the same hell that we went through.
I mean, not even the same hell, but that they have to learn how to play the game. And
yeah.
That's why I said, I'm not going to continue to beat my dead horse, but I just don't trust right now. I don't trust Activision/Bungie to keep their promise of this is the only instance in which there'll be microtransactions. But that's just me. I'm going to continue to be paranoid.
Yeah, and the tale will be people will speak with their wallet, or they'll lose their player base, and then there'll be a mea culpa potentially, or maybe they'll be like, we're fine with half the audience with people paying more.
Right.
I think Destiny actually has a hardcore enough base to continue past losing a large percentage of it. But if they continue after that with microtransactions and pay to win, then I know I'm a hardcore Destiny player. Everyone knows that. But I'm not going to play in a system that's pay to win. Like I don't believe in that.
No. I mean, look at everybody was complaining about how much the Taken King cost at first. $40. Holy cow! I won't do that. And guess what they did?
Yeah, but I mean, let me tell you something. It reviewed almost 3 points average higher than the base game. So I mean,
the proof is in the pudding. They delivered. People are engaged. There's more to do. I look every day, and I have so many quest lines I haven't completed. I'm like, holy cow! And then these things about just the sleeper simulant. I need to do that because it looks so cool. I will never do the Black Spindle because I guess I just don't have the. It's some of the game takes a lot of talent, and sometimes I just don't have that. I just enjoy playing the game. I'm not the best player. I just enjoy playing it.
All you need is 3 people with exotic swords, Todd. That's it. You just jump up there and you just demolish them.
And then you call the exotic sword. Yeah, it's like where do I start? Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what Josh, I, and our friend Matt did. Was we all got our exotic swords after playing it for almost 7 hours and trying to get the Black Spindle, and we did, I think, on our second or third try, the second round of going, and we were on like hour 8 or 9, or maybe 10 even, and we just got up there and we demolished, and we actually wound up finishing with like a minute and a half left in the mission.
The one thing I would like to see is the ability to transfer your characters between platforms, because I would love to play with you, but I have sunk so many hours in PS4.
Yeah.
I'm not going to start over on Xbox One. I know some people do that, but I'm like, there's too many other games I want to play.
Well, I think that has more to do with the fact that, Sony and Microsoft don't want their players going from system to system,
Yeah.
and leaving their system to go to the other system, which it sucks, man, because in reality, if I could have moved all my characters to the PlayStation, or at least one of them to the PlayStation, so that I had a PlayStation character to play with you guys, and then my Microsoft players, characters to play with the other guys, I would have done that in a heartbeat.
I mean, there's limited examples where they do that. It's like, wasn't Grand Theft Auto, where that when it was on the old gens and then the new gen versions came out, they allowed you through their third-party web system,
Yeah.
was it Rockstar Social Club? They allowed you to transfer your character to a different platform, which I thought was really cool. But that's the power of Grand Theft Auto, though,
Yeah.
more so than I think anything else.
Well, we'll see. Maybe they'll put that in next year. That'd be cool.
That'd be cool.
Let's move on because we're running out of time. Josh needs to get to a baseball game and drink
I
beer
do.
and eat hot dogs. So we're going to get a little heavy for a moment, folks. Over at Polygon, and we know everybody loves Polygon, there was a writer named Laura Dale. Laura Dale pointed out the fact that if you read the Book of Sorrows, it comes to light that Oryx, the main villain from Destiny, is transgender, as he moves from female originally to male to become the Taken King. Laura Dale goes on to explains that, or goes on to make the argument that Bungie and Destiny should have put more focus on that instead of keeping it in the grimoire cards. And a lot of people have started talking about it, and we thought we'd just touch on it lightly. This is not a topic of the week, so don't think it's going to be a 45-minute conversation about that stuff. But we had some thoughts. And one of the thoughts that came up that me and Todd were talking pre-show about was that I don't really feel it's transgender. Yes, it is moving from female to male in a sense, but I don't look at the Hive as a humanoid character. Like, to me, they are devoid of, like, sexual orientation or even gender. When I look at them, all I see are creatures, and they're called the Hive, right? So that, conjures up images of insects, which in most cases are asexual.
Yeah, I mean, and by the way, who wants to get on Oryx anyways? He's kind of nasty, so he's got to come up with ways to reproduce.
Well, I mean, Jesus, Todd. Jesus. Took that down to
A
dark
little
path.
lightness and humor to this, because everything gets so like, it's transgender, it's this and that, and yeah, sometimes I think just grasping at straws, getting the message forward. I'm glad we have these, discussions of equity and people's identity not just being put into checking a box. I'm glad for that. But yeah, this is, once again, it's in the grimoire, which half of Destiny's lore is in the grimoire. There's so much I don't know about this game. It's in there. So.
Well, and that's what she was saying, was that they should have taken it out of the grimoire and put it in the game, to kind of explain that. Now, I can see that being maybe valid because of the switch from male to, or female to male. The only thing is that when I guess it's my perspective on it, right? That when I look at the Hive, or when I look at the Fallen, or the Vex, which are robots, but when I look at the I don't see like beings, I guess. I see creatures. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to put this without sounding like too offensive and whatnot. But at the same time, I kind of feel like it's one of those things where she's really reaching, because they want social agenda pushed so much over at Polygon. And like I said, in base form, yes, it's being transgender. But I think when we look at more of the in-depth argument of it and whatnot, like, is this really a true transition from female to male, or is this more like an animal in nature who can't reproduce, has to become both or one or the other? So not only that, he's also the villain. Like, do you really want the villain? Your first huge transgender character in video games to be this giant creature. Like, how much can be extrapolated from that, right? Like, if they go out and say that Oryx is transgender, how many people are going to come back and be like, oh, well, why does the first transgender
Have to
character
be a
need
villain.
to be this, be this, huge villain? It's ugly. It's from outer space. What does that say about society pushing it away? That's a dangerous game to even call it transgender. And try to have that relation.
It's funny that you mention that though, because this has been a scenario about strong female characters. In the past, strong female characters have to be, pristine and pure and not have faults. Now they're saying being strong means having faults. It means not always making good decisions. It's what you do with those decisions you make that show your true character and make you strong. So why can't a villain be these things and be the bad guy? If you're just saying only a transgender person could be pure and good, then it's almost saying, well, then you're kind of not taking a pure overall view of a person, meaning their sexual identity is what defines them, because that's what you're doing when that's all you're focusing on. Versus, are they a bad person? Caitlyn Jenner. Quite honestly, I didn't like Bruce Jenner. Doesn't mean I'm gonna like Caitlyn Jenner now that they do this. I mean, he apparently killed someone, but no press charges. Not a good person, but yeah, identify that he did some good. He's doing good things for that cause, or she's doing good things for that cause. But still, you add that complexity, those layers, to make a person or a character interesting.
Yeah.
Just not one note.
Mr. Demon Sour Cream.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't have a whole lot to say on this or to add on. You guys kind of hit it on the head. My initial thoughts when I was hearing all this was I viewed the Hive as more like how a lot of species here on Earth reproduce asexually. That's kind of how I viewed it. I personally thought it was a little bit of grasping at straws. The article from Polygon in general, which is kind of like let's make something. It's not nothing, but let's make something out of a very kind of hidden detail that I guess we got from our own interpretation of the Grimoire cards. I'm trying not to sound like a horrible person here. I think there's so many more opportunities to show gender equality and to show activism for transgendered people that do not involve a giant space demon.
Yeah.
If we and Todd kind of hit this point earlier in the week, if we have the time to sit around and debate the sexuality of a giant space demon, we probably have too much time on our hands. I think there's so many more series that could make a much bigger stand for this. And it would be much more prominent than something that literally I know. Even if I read the Grimoire, no offense, probably would not have picked up on this. It's just that's my own interpretation of this. Obviously, we think everybody needs to be represented, but I mean, I just think the whole Oryx situation is a huge stretch. That's me personally.
Well, I mean, the what do you call it? The actual sexuality of Oryx really isn't that important. What's important is the relationship between Oryx and Crota, right? Is that Oryx is the quote-unquote father of Crota, and his son is dead. He's coming back to seek vengeance and whatnot. And let's be honest, you can be a parent no matter what you are. And that's
I'm not saying
No, I know you're not. What you said, Josh, when you said I don't want to sound like a horrible person, actually very eloquent, very intelligent. There's nothing terrible about it whatsoever. I was just trying to add on top of what you were saying, was that, what I think we really need to look at is not that Oryx is, transgender, but Oryx is a parent.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter, transgender, gay, straight, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's the parental relationship. I think that they really wanted to push out more like this is a parent seeking vengeance for its child being dead, and not, hey, at one time Oryx was a lady. So, moving on, last little bit of news. Ubisoft has been slow burning a tease for their next Far Cry game, and according to Kotaku, it will be Far Cry Primal. The game will be set in the Ice Age and almost ensure you will see your fair share of woolly mammoths. You'll also have a partner named Barney, and both of you will be a part of the Bedrock Bowling League, where you will compete to earn the title of Twinkle Toes. Wait, I think I just crossed up some stuff.
Do you get huge pieces of meat you put on your car and it pulls
Oh
over?
yeah, yeah, it does. This game looks really interesting. I want to get through this really quickly so we can move on to the topic of the week. I think it's a cool idea, and the way they're saying it is going to be more like Blood Dragon. It's not going to be like a full retail release, which is cool. It's cool. Let's do it.
I love Far Cry 3, Far Cry 4, love Blood Dragon. I saw this and it interested me not at all.
You never wanted to wear a loincloth and hunt woolly mammoth?
Nope.
I could see you in a loincloth.
One of my favorite
want to
parts
see
of Far
it.
Cry 4 was the banter that the DJ did when you're driving around. It was absolutely hilarious, the comedic elements of it. And it seemed like this is just going to be a little bit more of that caveman doing his thing, and that just doesn't interest me. I like the weapons. I like the crazy vehicles and things like that.
Gotcha.
I think I would be more interested in this if a couple factors weren't in play. One, if Horizon Zero Dawn had not been shown at E3 last year, even though that's completely different, you're fighting giant machines and stuff. That I don't know. That seeing that makes me not want Far Cry at all now. I loved Blood Dragon, so the idea of doing another kind of like alternate reality without the wackiness of Far Cry is okay. But Blood Dragon was the most wacky thing that they've ever done, and I don't think that this is going to have the same element to that, and I don't think it's going to be as deep as Far Cry 3 and Far Cry 4 were, personally. I think Far Cry is a series that, they've had 2 stellar installments and a great DLC. Let it take a breather for a couple of years now. Instead, you're putting it out on a date that has Mirror's Edge, and there's some other big release coming out that day on February 23rd. Something's going to have to move, and I almost guarantee you it's going to be Far Cry.
Sure.
But those are just... Deus Ex, that's the other one, I think, is coming out that day. So, no, not interested. Won't be buying it, won't be playing it.
Okay. I might. Depends. We'll see what happens. Josh, can you tell me what time it is?
It's time for me to go make a sandwich because it's almost football time. But no,
Okay.
it's Topic of the Week!
Topic of the week.
Topic of the week.
Topic of the week this week. Really fast, really quick. Marvel. Again, we like to talk about Marvel. Marvel's in my background. Marvel is on Todd's shirt, and Marvel is on Josh's shirt as well. Marvel made some huge announcements this week about their Phase 3 schedule and Phase 4, actually, with the announcement of Ant-Man and the Wasp, and, of course, 3 yet-titled movies coming to their 2020 slate. We were wondering that after Infinity War, where could Marvel go with their storylines? I mean, pretty much we were racking our brains trying to think of what could be the next big thing, like what could take the place of Thanos and a cosmic war and whatnot. So that's why we wanted to bring Todd in, because Todd is cosmic bookie.
Mm-hmm.
So, Todd, take us away. Where do you think Phase 4 Marvel is going to head?
I think now we're hearing rumblings that the Inhumans might be on the chopping block, which, that's always been a hard film to do because unless we're doing the humans from the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. side where it's the more human element of the Inhumans versus the classic Inhumans with Kiku you love, it's, Black Bolt, it's Medusa, it's Gorgon, it's, the Mad King's brother or the Kang's mad brother that's trying to bring down, it's more of like, similar to Thor, where you've got a royal family and all of the dynamics there with the team. But Black Bolt is a silent character, and they're not known for being the standard Marvel kind of humorous, jokey jokes with the villain. So I don't know. But going on to that's off topic. I think it's time for Marvel to go after something they haven't really had. Kids movie. I don't know how they get there because there are some kid properties within Marvel. There's Power Pack. There is Runaways. There is, I'm trying to think. They may even have one called Gus Beezer, where it's a kid who daydreams of being Marvel heroes and things like that, and he has adventures. So I think it's an opportunity for them to branch out beyond just the huge event that's going to drive craziness. Because if you think about this, this is what it's all about. It's been building and building and building, and slowly but surely, none of these characters are going to have standalone films anymore. It's going to be, oh, who can we put with Doctor Strange? Who can we put with Black Panther and things like that? So I think it's time to step back and have some more family-friendly properties. And who knows, by that point, we might get the Fantastic Four back. And that could be more of a family-friendly thing. So that's where I would like to see it go. Because, I mean, after Infinity War, I mean, what other huge events are there that they can pull from the existing Marvel catalog of stories, unless they just say, no, going forward, we're not going to do those. We're going to do our own thing. Do they do a Secret Wars? I don't know, because Infinity War is going to kind of feel like a Secret Wars.
Yeah.
Going off of what Todd said, where do you go after Infinity War? I think that's the biggest question right now. I had an idea that I talked to Kiku about the other night, and I played on his heartstrings a little bit. You do a third Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, bear with me. We've had God knows how many sequels in the Marvel Universe, and we're going to continue to get a lot more in Phase 3. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 Annihilation. Marvel is going to have to move away from the Earth-based heroes at some point. They're going to have to fully embrace the cosmic side, or if you keep them on Earth, you're going to have to embrace the mystical and magical sides, like a Midnight Suns type thing. Annihilation allows you to bring together all these characters, like have the Guardians still be the central focus. It allows you to introduce Richard Rider if he's not in the universe by that point. You could probably even, rework, because Annihilation's obviously not going to be an exact adaptation. You could probably work Captain Marvel into that as well. We know that at one point Iron Man went and became a member of the Guardians well after Annihilation. But there's plenty of ways you could still keep the classic Earth characters in there. We know the Avengers travel into space on occasion. They could even come and show up like in the final act of the film to keep tying it all together. Inhumans getting canceled, great idea. I was really upset about it for all of about an hour. And then I realized, no, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has done a great job at introducing them. And maybe having Black Bolt and Medusa there is a great idea. There's nothing that says if Marvel TV can break away from Ike Perlmutter that they could not be used within the movies as well. Kevin Feige has said repeatedly he'd love to reference the TV shows. So those are just some really basic ideas I have. Like Ant-Man and the Wasp doesn't need to be another heist film. It needs to keep that comedic element, but I was thinking something completely different. What if they did a film without an antagonist? That is Marvel's weakest point. They don't know how to make an antagonist not called Loki. Everybody else is kind of hokey or doesn't have any real motivations. What if the Ant-Man sequel was just them going into the quantic realm or figuring out a way into the quantic realm that we see at the end of Ant-Man to save Janet Van Dyne? What if they started taking a lot more risks here and stopped playing it so safe? That is how that would be a game changer for Marvel if they did a film without an antagonist and that was all theoretical.
I mean, eventually Marvel, I think, will have to do. And I was just looking at my some trade paperbacks that I've got out here. One series that was a lot of fun that they could do, and they could play a lot of elements. They want to go comedic, they want to go serious. It's the Marvel Zombies line. That could be a lot of fun. What do you do as a hero when you're taking on hordes of potentially powered beings, and you get to do some fun things with them? Might be a little hard in the current Marvel culture of kind of formula, comedic, safe, but it might be time to do things like that. Or maybe you bring up the dark side of the Marvel universe. With Doctor Strange, do you then say let's time to bring back Blade? It's time for Ghost Rider. It's time for not Man-Thing. Maybe Man-Thing might be a hard character to do, but Werewolf by Night.
There never needs to be a Man-Thing show ever, Todd.
Moon Knight.
Why?
Mark Spector, Moon Knight.
That's a lot.
I'm waiting for Josh's 19th Moon Knight in a row. Static Shock, because Dre's not here, and I want to say it.
Moon Knight.
I mean, there really isn't a Batman of the Marvel universe at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why not do something a little bit different? But I said the mysticism realm, Doctor Strange coming in opens up doors where maybe we could have more of that play out. elements like that could be interesting. But yeah, we need to do some different things because the straight hero film, with all of these sequels and everything, you've got to mix it up, add in some unique elements, and do something different.
Yep. Um, like Josh said, we talked about this, and I love Josh's theory of annihilation. The only problem is that hinges completely on whether or not Marvel gets the rights back to Fantastic Four, because let's face it, every character that's in Annihilation pretty much is attached to those rights. So while that's a lovely fantasy and speculation, I would love to see it happen. I'm going to go, I think where I feel they're going to go, just based in rooted real world right now, like what we have right now, is after Phase 3, it goes off into 3 separate directions. Okay? No more of this tie-in stuff. They're going to have the movies be Earth-based heroes and still be Avengers, but new Avengers. Okay? Maybe they'll dabble some cosmic stuff in there with Guardians of the Galaxy. But I think
it's too marketable at this point to get rid of.
Yeah, exactly. But I think TV shows, we go more towards the supernatural. We'll have Blade. We'll have Ghost Rider. We'll get Midnight Suns in some capacity.
Thing.
Shut
Spirits
up.
of Vengeance. Spirits of Vengeance. Cool.
Exactly.
Yep.
And I don't think they'll cross over too much. Like maybe for like one movie, Ghost Rider will show up, but he'll be a side character or even a cameo. I don't really think that. Right now, they kind of painted themselves in a corner by doing Infinity War now and not having rights to any of their more larger events where they can do huge casts of characters. I mean, in reality, I would have saved Civil War for after Infinity War, right? Infinity War would have been like that last thing that just drove everybody apart, and the world was scared of the powers of the power enhanced people or whatever, and the Inhumans. And that's when you could have done Inhumans, right? Is right before Civil War. Inhumans do something that really messes up the world, and everybody's still on edge from Infinity War. Bam! Right into Civil War, into storylines. The solo movies could have been all those tie-in stories into Civil War, right? But they want to do it in Captain America, which is fine. I'm so looking forward to it. I just think that would have been your next big step, because you went outward, right, and did this huge thing. Now let's come back inward, right, and do this huge big thing.
Yeah, I mean, I would prefer to see, if we're going to have, the standalone character films going forward, or team ups. Maybe it's kind of like we had Captain America and Black Widow teaming up, focusing on that, having smaller casts teaming up, kind of like the Spider-Man team up books of the past, and because Spider-Man is kind of that thing that we don't know how it's going to impact the Marvel Universe, but that could be a lot of fun, having Spider-Man team up with various characters, or, just having Captain America and Falcon having adventures and things like that, versus having everybody under the sun. And bring in quality villain.
Or Falcon with everybody team up. I'm just saying, Anthony Mackie.
Exactly.
Anthony Mackie is a man who wants to be in every Marvel film from now until the day he's in the ground.
And we are okay with this.
Yep.
Yeah. Why not?
So, we really don't.
No, I mean, I just have one last thought. The last thought that I was talking to you about, that logically, if they were to do another team-up movie, which I don't want another team-up after Infinity War, I think Infinity War is really the end-all unless you get Galactus.
Yeah.
And at which point it would almost... Or Annihilus. I mean... If you were to do like an Avengers movie to cap off Phase 4, now they have the rights back to the Spider-Man universe partially. They share them. What if you did Secret Invasion followed up by Siege after that? Siege and Dark Reign. I think that would be a great twist on the status quo of the Marvel universe. Who's been impersonating? But again, Secret Invasion really relies on getting the Fantastic Four back. You need the Skrulls. Unless they just did something really wacky and like somehow the Kree were impersonating.
Well, I mean, they could just do their own new alien race, right?
Right. We could reuse the Chitauri if we needed to. Which I wouldn't be surprised, but I really want Super Skrull.
Sure. Who doesn't?
I think Dark Reign and Siege, though, will happen sooner rather than later, especially if Asgard is destroyed in Ragnarok and if Sate gets reformed. and is above the U.S. You know, do Siege. You have Norman Osborn now. God, please use him. Get Bryan Cranston for Norman Osborn, everybody.
He said he wanted to be a Marvel villain.
I know, and he's perfect. Tell me you cannot picture a bald Norman Osborn. That lunacy is perfect.
No, he needs that Velcro-looking hair, though. He does need that.
With the goatee.
Yes.
Todd, stop living in 1985.
Nope. Those are my last two thoughts, though. I really think that could be a cool arc to take everybody on. And you could slowly, like, if they did get the rights for Fantastic Four back, like, say, in the next few years, or, you know, at the beginning of Phase 4, that would give them time to develop them and bring them in properly, rather than just shoehorning them.
Sure. It's disappointing, though, that no one has brought up that Howard the Duck really should, you know, become the center of the Marvel Universe.
Get out. Get out.
I did.
I'm okay with that.
This is something to
I'm
think
not.
about, though. Now that Howard the Duck is in the Marvel and Disney territory now, potentially we could have a DuckTales crossover.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I want it.
Okay.
I want it so bad. I didn't know I
DuckTales
wanted
would
that so
be
bad,
more
but I wanted it so
excited-
bad,
more
but I wanted it so
excited
bad. The Fantastic Four rights. But there's only one thing that needs to happen if they get back the Fantastic Four rights. One thing.
than a good Fantastic Four movie
Yes.
or TV series.
That's you know how I feel TV show. Calark, the Gladiator, needs to be in a movie. That's all that needs to happen. I don't give a shit
But wait.
about any of the other stuff.
Isn't he an X-Men character? He's part of the Shire.
Nope. I looked it up a couple of episodes ago. He is attached to the Fantastic Four rights because the Shi'ar Empire was first mentioned in the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, but they've skirted around that because we have other characters that first appeared in Fantastic Four, but were allowed into the Marvel Universe.
Well, because they were attached, I guess, more recently to other things, right? But unfortunately, I mean, there could be some battle, but I just want Calark. That's it. I just want a movie with Calark in it, not done by Fox or. But done by Fox. No.
Nothing like a cocky Superman.
Yes. I mean, he does get his powers from confidence.
That's right. And his mohawk.
Yes. So, all right, with that, we're going to spin it out a topic of the week. Guys, thank you for joining us today, listening to the show. Todd, thank you for being a guest as always. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I am personally apologizing for myself not being as funny, still getting over being sick. A lot of personal stuff going on in my life, too, as well, which is taking away from that. We also rushed a bit so Josh could go see the Texas Rangers lose, and so that Todd could go send his child off to a haunted house and scare the living shit out of him. So,
Hope he gets back. I hope he comes back on his own.
yeah, you hope so. If not, if he does wind up staying, hopefully he is one of the scariest characters in the haunted house. Unfortunately, Nick obviously couldn't be here. Ray, again, we want to say congratulations for your wedding anniversary. Congrats. We miss you. We will see you next week. After that, any shout-outs, boys?
Nope. I don't have any. Todd, you want to pimp your show?
Sure, yeah. If you're interested in hearing more about comic books and craziness, we always go long on new comic books that come out and talking about those books weekly, and shows and things like that. Give us a listen on Secret Friends Unite podcast. Also, we have a Secret Friends Unite podcast page, and you can follow us on Twitter at Secret Friends U, which we're using a lot more now that we realize we can tie in our Facebook page to Twitter. So the magic of the internets. Thanks, guys, for having me on.
Of course, as always, we always enjoy coming on, and you actually help us out immensely by coming on. I have no shout-outs, actually. This is probably the first time in 33 weeks that I haven't had a shout-out. But with that, guys, appreciate you listening to the show. Catch us next week, episode 34, where Josh will be wearing a tutu for the entire episode.
Ooh,
As
That's
always,
news to me.
keep it nerdy.